You are listening to the New Book of Daniel podcast. Hello and welcome to the New Book of Daniel podcast. My name is Daniel Bobinski. I'll be your host on this short adventure. You know, today is kind of a strange day. It's Monday, it's November 9th, and we're looking at a lot of news today where lots of stuff is popping out about various corruption discoveries and fraud discoveries. And I'm kind of sitting back and watching this happen thinking, yep, this is what we can expect to see for the next couple of weeks. And eventually, this has been my prediction all along, is that President Trump will serve a second term. I think what we're going to see happen is the Democrats are going to get all excited. Well, they're already all excited. And then the courts are going to kick in and find, oh, there was fraud. Oh, there was fraud. Oh, looky here, there was fraud. And they're going to be reversing a lot of these quote unquote decisions in these various states. And in the end, Donald Trump is going to have more than enough electoral college votes to be president for a second term. Now, unfortunately, the left will not be very happy about that. And as I'm holding here in my hand a document published by the left called Stopping the Coup, the disruption guide for 2020, they are anticipating the fact that Donald Trump will be winning his second term, but they're going to be calling it a coup, that he's pulling a coup and that he's not going to be the rightful president, that he stole the election, and they're planning a lot of violence. I think once all this happens, you're going to see a lot of violence in the streets. So just right up front, before I get into any other news, let me just advise what people have been saying in several circles, and that is make sure you stock up on your essentials. As we learned back in March, you want to make sure that you have some toilet paper and, of course, some food and any medicines that you need. And one of the medicines I think you should stock up on is vitamin D. Vitamin D. One of the things I want to point out today in our news is some videos by Dr. John Campbell. And I'm going to encourage you to go to YouTube and look up some videos by Dr. John Campbell. In fact, I will put a link to at least one of his videos down in the notes down below. Dr. Campbell is in England, and he's a very level-headed guy. Now, him and I don't agree on everything. For example, he's pro-mask, and I'm not. But if you are wanting to avoid getting the flu, and I'll put that in quotes so this doesn't get taken down, go to Dr. Campbell's videos on YouTube, and you're going to see the one that I'm going to link for you is called Winter Vitamin D Update. And he links to a lot of studies, and he prints off stuff and he summarizes it very well. And he goes, and you can see it on the screen, and he goes over it with you. And he shows how vitamin D is very effective when it comes to studies of people who have not caught a particular virus, you know, like maybe the flu virus or whatever other virus you may be thinking of. He quotes study after study after study, all very, peer-reviewed and all those kind of things. In one of his videos, he even shows us an email that was sent him from someone in Sweden who knew Dr. Fauci, and this Dr. Campbell asked him to ask Dr. Fauci how much vitamin D Dr. Fauci might take. And here is the email with Anthony Fauci's email coming back as an answer, and it's forwarded back to Dr. Campbell. Dr. Fauci takes 6,000 international units of vitamin D every day. So my question is, why is it Mr. Fauci and the CDC recommending that Americans, and in fact all citizens of the world, be taking vitamin D every day? The minimum adult dose is supposed to be 600, I believe, 600 international units. I personally do not want to be the minimum adult, so I am taking, just like Anthony Fauci, 6,000 international units of vitamin D every day. I spread it out throughout the day. But when you watch Dr. Campbell's videos, you are going to be blown away by the research. I'll let him do all the talking on that, but I want to really strongly recommend to check out Dr. John Campbell's videos on vitamin D. He's got lots of them. All right, on to other news. Over at readoutnews.com, We have learned that a federal judge in Pennsylvania ordered Philadelphia officials to produce records on a $10 million grant that it received from a fund that Mark Zuckerberg happened to fund up. He put up $250 million to help with this particular election. And we learn there was a federal judge ordered these officials to disclose how this grant has been being spent. Turns out that lots of money was used to compensate poll workers for, get this, hazard pay. And that includes election judges who decide ballot integrity. And that money all comes from Mark Zuckerberg. That piece of news has kind of caught fire. People are starting to wonder, why is Mark Zuckerberg paying all this money that's being spent as hazard pay to work the polls? I'll let you think about that. Other news, Mr. Joe Biden has requested funds to make a transition, a transition of power so that he can prepare to move into the White House. And the GSA, the Government Service Administration, has responded to the Biden campaign and said, no, ascertainment has not yet been made on power transfer. You're not getting any money. See, the media has been saying that Mr. Biden's going to be our next president, but nobody in the government has said that yet. That's not an official declaration. That's just the media. And they're doing what I call gaslighting. They're trying to tell us what is, even though we look at all the fraud all around us and we go, oh, well, maybe these things are going to turn around back to Trump. And they keep telling us Joe Biden is going to be our president. In fact, the New York Times wrote a piece called How Joe Biden Won the Presidency. I personally screenshotted that and turned it into a meme and said, this story in the New York Times is not going to age well. Because I strongly believe that when it all comes down, Donald Trump will be serving a second term. Now, if you want to see what the media is doing, the media is starting to tell us, as are some politicians on the left, that if you have been a Trump supporter, you better watch out, that you're going to be on a list and they're going to try to make it so you can't hold public office or you can't get a teaching job. This is straight out of the Marxist textbook, folks. The left is showing their colors in a very big way. In fact, CNN's Jake Tapper has been telling people that they might even lose their jobs unless they out and accept the Biden victory. I don't know where these people get off with this kind of stuff. Can you imagine if anybody in the Trump administration had done that regarding Hillary? That if you supported Hillary, you would lose your job and that you wouldn't be able to get a job in government or get a teaching job? What kind of crazy malarkey is that, to quote Joe Biden? And then there's Jennifer Rubin over at the Washington Post who says, and I quote, we have to collectively burn down the Republican Party. She says, not only does Trump have to lose, but all of his enablers have to lose. This is not American, people. This is not America. That kind of talk only comes from Marxists. That's the kind of talk that came from people like Vladimir Lenin when he took over Russia back in 1917. Totally destroy the enemy. That is not what America is about. So when I talk about people who are patriots and people who are Marxists, I really mean it. Just because someone's born in America doesn't make them a patriot. A patriot is somebody who supports, protects, and defends the Constitution of the United States. And these people on the left right now, they're showing their true colors. All you got to do is go to their sites and read how vitriolic they've become about anybody who supported Donald Trump or anybody on the right. They want to destroy everybody who is not like them. So pure Marxism, folks. And you need to watch out for that. Protect yourself. Like I said, stock up. There's going to be some balance coming when we realize that Donald Trump will, in fact, be serving a second term. All right, I'm going to wrap it up with that. I do want you to remind you to watch some of those Dr. John Campbell videos about vitamin D and make sure you stock up on some vitamin D. It's amazing, amazing stuff there. All right, this has been Daniel Bobinski with the New Book of Daniel podcast. You can catch me on Twitter at New Book of Daniel. It's also on Parler and on MeWe and even USA Life, usa.life. Of course, Facebook as well. That's the facebook.com/New Book of Daniel. you want to drop me an email, you can do that to newbookofdaniel@outlook.com. All right. This has been the New Book of Daniel podcast. We'll catch you on the next show. Until next time, be blessed.